a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, say it again, Shaw. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
Cold Reality Radio starts now.
This week on Cold Reality Radio. Quake alert in Los Angeles. We could have they're on the edge of their seats out there with quake activity, and there could be an even bigger one coming. The Malaysian jet still trickling bits of information coming in about that. We're going to cover a little bit of that this week. Obama goes to visit the Pope, talk about social justice, and the Pope talked about religious freedom. But did that really happen or not? Tale of two stories. As I said, many different things this week. More infringements on your freedoms in the works. Mystery aircrafts over Texas. Got Stephen Colbert in the line of fire this week. We've got the housing, murky at best. Our housing, our economy, still teetering on the brink, but the mainstream media will have you believe that everything is just fine. Everything is just dandy. Biotech is creating GMO human babies. What could go wrong with that? name it, and that's what can happen. All right, welcome to Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV broadcasting network of free speech and freedom, created by people who cherish freedom and reality, not what we're getting from the mainstream, lamestream media. I am the Shaligarch. I am the Shali Lama, and this is my program, Cold Reality Radio. I'd like to start the program this week by doing a little dedication to a friend of mine, a guy that I played, recorded some songs with, hung out with, like probably about 2 times. My brother kind of knew him more than I did. I heard his name throughout the years, in the musician circle. His name is Dan Casper. And my brother was telling me, he was like, listen, I'm going to be playing with Dan at, this was last weekend on Saturday night. I'm going to be playing, or Friday or Saturday. And he said, hey, I'm going to be playing. Why don't you, I said, yeah, I ever since I heard that, I wanted to, come out and see what you're doing. And, so he said, it's weird. I haven't heard from Dan. I haven't heard from him. And the reason why he didn't is because Dan had a, asthma attack and, went into the hospital. Well, the sadness of it is that, people die now it's like the 3rd leading cause of death. That's what you're not going to hear that on mainstream media, but, he passes away a week later. So what do you do when respiratory disease like asthma can kill you? My nephew has asthma. I think there's more to it, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. If anybody out there, I posted a on the Facebook page for Dan and his followers. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little ditty that I wrote, little instrumental. might be. It just might be.
Keep that in yourself. She started talking this shit about love, and she started talking about sin. I said, honey, I was with you for the rest of my life. She said, now, honey, now, she said, until you make me your wife. My honey, my man, don't put my love on the shelf. She said, don't take no lies and keep your hands to yourself.
All right, well, yeah, that was a little bit of my stuff, and this is Dan playing locally.
Make sure you understand.
So, I guess my point here is that, 1 week, you're somebody that you know is going to be playing guitar and jamming with somebody, and then next thing you know, they pass away from an asthma attack. And I always kind of thought that was something that could be controlled with inhalers and things like that. But it really, I don't know, it just really saddened me, because I had played with the guy a couple times, and, next thing you know, it's like, hey, I'm going to go out and see, this compilation that they threw together, and then he's in the hospital for a week, and then he goes into a coma. I don't know whether he had, there's a lot of people that have been sick lately as far as respiratory stuff, colds and things like that. I don't know that if he had that or, but Dan was around 50 years old, and it just doesn't make any sense that he should have left us as this quickly. So it saddens me. And I just wanted to shout out to Dan and his listeners, his followers, his family. Great guy, super friggin' nice, and there's other people in this world that you wonder, like my brother said, with all the scum that's running out there, why we have to lose a guy like Dan Casper. So, very sad, and a little bit more Dan here.
Everybody don't come out that often. Is that a trick question?
Singer-songwriter. Rest in peace, buddy. All right. Now, I'm going to cover a little bit about this because I think there's more to these respiratory deaths and respiratory illnesses going from 8th overall to 3rd overall. Again, things you're not going to hear on the mainstream media. But there's been a rash of these respiratory illnesses out there. And I don't know. I just don't take information. I mean, hospitals, I'm going to give you some statistics that hospitals and doctors, MDs, are responsible for like 780,000 deaths a year. MD, allopathic medicine, kills more people than cancer and heart disease. And that's what this show is about. It's about cold reality. The cold reality is that we lost a really good person, in Dan Casper. And, I mean, here, where are we in medicine these days when people are dying from asthma? I mean, this should have been kicked in the ass years ago. Diabetes should have been kicked in the ass years ago. Heart disease, cancer should have been kicked in the ass years ago. But we continue to lose more and more good people while the filth and degenerates of the world continue to thrive, aka the 0.01%, not the 1%, the 0.01%. And I seem to remember when Pat and I met over at Dan's house over the summer, and he had a thriving, I believe he was saying he had a thriving business. He did any number of different things. And then the economy, when the economy went in the shitter, things went pretty bad. So when I started talking about that, he was just like, he knew exactly what I was talking about. So he was, not only was he a great songwriter and a performer and musician, but he was also an enlightened, he knew there's people that walk through this life and have no clue what's going on, have no clue that the ingredients, that are being purposely put into their food and into their water, and these petroleum-based pharmaceutical drugs are in fact really, really wrecking people, and not really, it's disease management. It's not health care. MDs do not practice healthcare. They practice disease management. And that's the thing for me. I mean, if somebody dies, I want to know why. And lately, all we've been we hear stories about, people passing away at young ages, this, that, and people just become accustomed to it because the mainstream media just says, hey, hospital superbug infections kills 205. There it is right there. And there's Limey Piers Morgan. Let's go back to that. Hospital superbug infections killed 205 Americans per day. If a jumbo jet crashed in the ocean every single day, it would roughly equal the number of Americans who die each day following superbug infections acquired at U.S. hospitals. Far from being some hyped up scare story, that's actually the conclusion of none other than the Centers for Disease Control, known as the CDC, our alphabet agencies that we trust so much and put so much trust in, which has now publicly warned that 1 in 25 hospital patients gets infected and tens of millions die each year from hospital superbug. And they say that it's from the overuse of antibiotics, which more and more evidence comes out every day that is the case. But I will tell you that this is something that can easily be taken care of. This is something that should have been taken care of a long time ago, but nobody's doing anything about it. And they'll say that they're doing things about it, but I don't believe that they're doing things about it. And then thus we lose people that we shouldn't have lost. I remember talking to, I work for a company that's got a lot of people in sales, and one of them, a guy who was a salesman, His wife had a child, went into the hospital, and then after the baby was born, she went back in. She had a massive lung infection, and she died from this massive lung infection. Okay. Thus, the going from 8th to 3rd overall in what kills people. 3rd, is supposed to be cancer. 2nd, heart disease. And, of course, I said hospitals and medical doctors. 780,000 a year die. And that includes superbugs. That includes medical procedures that are toxic. That includes medical drugs, pharmaceutical drugs that are toxic from jump. We don't need the cholesterol meds. We don't need the high blood pressure. It just manages a inflammatory problem in the body. The food pyramid is just bullshit. Get your multi-grains, get your this, get your that. Well, it turns out that bread and grains, wheat, barley, oats, rye, is probably the worst thing that you can eat in abundance. Because it's got gluten in it, and gluten is a protein that the body cannot break down. So if you're taking vitamins, if you're a conscientious person and you're taking vitamins, whether it's GNC with the synthetic base or the whole food brands, you're not absorbing any of these nutrients. Not absorbing any of these nutrients. Now, I was watching last night. I've done a lot of research into longevity. I test every product that comes out there. I have a chiropractor who does kinesiology, so I know when something's good, and when I can get it muscle tested. And this tangerine stuff, it's linked to Jones and Jones Corporation, but this stuff is good. This guy Joel Wallach, and Dr. Peter Glidden, who I personally interviewed a couple years ago, who was gracious enough to get on to a podcast with somebody who wasn't even mainstream. He just wanted to spread the information that nutrition, these problems, these health problems that we develop over the years are a result of malnutrition. And of course, when you add that, you've got the fluoride that's in the water. You've got the, what I believe is causing a lot of the respiratory illnesses, and what's making asthma even worse is this, the geoengineering. The shaft, filling the sky with chaff. You see it in the sky, the white lines. You see it looks like somebody dumped a can of white paint on the sky. It's not a real cloud. It's not a naturally forming cloud. It's aluminum, barium, strontium, all kinds of nasties. You talk to the EPA, you don't get a response. You send letters to, I had George Barnes on my program, a guy who was a filmmaker, went into New York City to do this time lapse photography movie, and then obviously you look over your work, so he looks over his work and he sees the geoengineering happening. He sees it through this time lapse. And he sees how the sky goes from blue with very little naturally forming clouds to just a murky, pale, garbage, filth, apocalyptic sky. And this happens more often than I like to see. And not only that, you can't go too far into, because people cannot grasp the maliciousness of it. People cannot grasp the maliciousness of this program. Millions and millions and millions of dollars paid for this geoengineering, this geographic engineering, weather mod, all of that. We have with Dane Wigington. I interviewed Dane Wigington before he was on UCY, but by then he was already talking to everybody. He was talking to Jones Corporation. What in the world are they spraying? Why in the world are they spraying? Heavily involved in that. He's on UCY's on Saturday, UCY.tv. The name escapes me, but it's on Saturday. Geoengineering Watch, I believe it's called. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat room there. The Shaligarch doesn't get too emotional. Usually he gets really mad and angry. Today, the Shaligarch shed a tear for a fallen human being and a great person. And I want this to stop. I want this to stop. I want people to stop dying in hospitals. Hospitals are places, correct me if I'm fucking wrong, but hospitals are places where you go to get well, not get a superbug MRSA infection and die. And there's ways to kill MRSA without. Good morning, everybody in the chat room. Good morning. It's just sad because, as I said, my nephew has asthma. And so many people have asthma. And then I went back, I scrolled back through Dan's Facebook page. And it turns out that there were times, late last year, that he evidently had an asthma attack, maybe during a performance. And everybody was like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? How's everything?" So, and then I watched a 2 or 3 hour dissertation by Joel Wallach in Alberta, up in Canada. And there's a man there who introduces him and says, "I had asthma really bad. I don't have it anymore. I started on longevity, nutrition, nutraceutical, whatever, EFAs, essential fatty acids, selenium," which Joel Wallach sued the FDA so that he can make the claim that 200 micrograms of selenium would prevent, these different forms of cancer. But you can't say that in America because we live in a medical tyranny. But Joel Wallach was able to sue them by proving the efficacy of selenium. And he sued, and he was able to do it. He was able to make that health claim. But if you say something cures cancer in this country, under the guise of keeping the people healthy, which they're not doing, they'll come in with guns and take all your shit. They'll take your calcium, they'll take this, they'll take that. When it's known that the acid alkaline base in the body determines your health. And most people don't know this. All we get fed is shit. KFC, McDonald's with silicone in the chicken McNuggets. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Their food is just ridiculous. It tastes good, but you could probably pour some hot fudge and caramel on a pile of shit, and it might taste good for a little while. Pardon me. But the bottom line here is that our medicine and health was hijacked years ago. Medicine and health was hijacked years ago by very, very powerful interests, Rockefeller, Carnegie. These people meant to take over oil. That's why we're paying $3 to $4 to $5 for a gallon of gasoline. instead of all these other technologies that would have made us totally sufficient with these other technologies. But let's capitalize on oil. Going to talk about the Exxon Valdez today. That was a problem that could have easily been another BP presentation. Could have easily been rectified but the effects of it today still exist. And of course, all the people that worked to clean it up that are dead today. And of course, the people that they use core exit, which is a chemical that is supposed to pull the toxins together, or the oil dispersant, and that's like the worst possible chemical that they could have used down there, and people are having respiratory issues down there. So again, sorry for getting so emotional, but you think about your own family, you think about the people that you love, and then you think about, and you also think about people that you've met, people that aren't in your family, this human family that we are. And then boom, one day, your brother's playing with him, and then the next day, he doesn't hear from him, and then he's in the hospital. He's in the hospital for a week in a coma, and then the family has to decide whether they're gonna keep him on life support or their decision was to turn off the life support and then it's a tough decision, and especially that decision is even harder to make when you've got the criminal medical system in the hospitals that will just literally crush your life financially. I mean, there was a time when the medicine before Obamacare came in where you could get taken care of. You could get a procedure or something if you didn't have money or whatever. But now, Obamacare and this new affordable care system, this show isn't about, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm a libertarian. I'm about freedom for everybody. And I think that we could design a healthcare system in this country and around the world. And, but when the banks are all in on it, and it's all about fleecing the American people and the people of the world. And with the World Health Organization and the UN known to be going around over the years, through the guise of keeping people healthy, sterilizing women. We're going to talk a little bit about social justice, religious freedom today. We're going to talk about Obama's visit to the Pope, where it was a tale of two stories, what the White House said, and then that they spoke about, and then, of course, what the Vatican said that they spoke about. And whatever you think of out there about reproductive freedom and all these things, and all these Democrats that want everybody to be able to do this, and all these things that they're supposedly doing that are helping people, it's all about really stopping people from being born. And I'm not a crazed, no abortion thing. I think everybody needs to make their decision on what they're going to do, and then they have to deal with that. The ladies. It's not for the state. It's not for the government to tell you what to do or guide you in what to do. And then, of course, you see Planned Parenthood. I have a friend of mine who said Planned Parenthood helped her out. And yeah, they do some good. At the core, it's about babies not being born. And I know it's hard for people to understand, but all signs, evidence show that it's about. I mean, when you consider the amount of abortions that have taken place, or the amount of, and I don't say that to say bad woman for you doing this. No, I'm just saying, considering the amount. In a society, it's very complicated. It's always very complicated. And as a human race, we should be able to come to a decision. As a human race, we should be able to come to a decision. But the leaders, or the people that take the lead, are misleading. It's not about your reproductive freedoms. They're just making victims out of you so that they can grandstand for you. The Democrats are into welfare, and the Republicans are into corporate welfare. Either way, we're getting screwed. No bailouts for us. No bailouts for us. But Harry Reid comes into his political career with $1 million or so, whatever. I don't believe that. And now he's 10 times that. 10, 11 times that. And he just makes ridiculous comment after ridiculous comment, just like Pelosi. Boehner, and again, this isn't about, I will bash me some Republicans. John Boehner is worthless. He's worthless. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, to make it look like he put up a good fight. But made it look like he put up a good fight, but in the end, he just didn't have enough. And then, of course, he's playing golf with Obama. He's doing this with Obama. They're trying out shoes together. They're getting their nails painted together. This whole, Andrew Napolitano said it last night. I'm going to try to see if I can get it on, play it on here. He had a talk with Jesse Ventura on his Off the Grid program. And we have a one-party system. We have a one-party system. And the quote is, with God, Andrew Napolitano, he can, this guy's written many, many books about freedom. This guy could be president, should be president. But you're not going to find people with integrity in there to say, let's really find a cure to these diseases. But medicine is made into a mystery. Medicine's made into a mystery, and it's not a mystery. The body can heal itself. You got to give the body what it needs to heal itself. You got to stop jacking the vaccines. You got to stop jacking everything. They're jacking everything. And again, as I said, I both my parents died within a week of each other from cancer. So I went on a expedition into the unknown, and what I found was cancer cover up all the fucking way. Cancer cover up. And then I found out that they were putting shit in our water and in our food and in our air that's carcinogenic. So just kind of brings it about. And I know this is hard for people. If I got any listeners over there from Dan's page, I don't know. I mean, I met Dan I was in Dan's presence 2 or 3 times. Great guy. We lost a great person. We didn't have to. This is bullshit. People dying from asthma. That should have been kicked in the ass years ago. Cancer should have been kicked in the ass. As I said, heart disease. But no, we're getting new diseases. There's this new disease. There's this new this. There's this new that. And, you know, people have a childlike mindset when it comes to the world. And at the core, people are basically good. Somewhere in that core, there is evil. And that evil controls all the banks and controls all the money and is taxing you to death, taking food out of your mouth, out of your children's mouths, out of your future grandchildren's mouths, and now they're creating GMO babies. So, for those, if there's any new listeners, out there, and we have them every day, UCY.tv. Listen, give it a listen. Get away from the MSNBCs. Get away from, even the Fox News, because they tell a little bit of truth, but in turn, they still, they still are not really reporting that our economy, our youth, the people that have graduated from college are not getting jobs, are living at home with their parents. They're not reporting. If people don't have jobs, it's because they're lazy. And that there's a percentage of that that's totally true. There's a percentage of that's totally true, but then there's a lot of people out there that want to kick it and work hard all day long. They want to work hard. I had to cough. I turned the mic off. I don't have a button for it. I gotta turn the knob. I gotta turn the knob. Anyway, this show can get silly at sometimes, and it can get serious, and then the blood pressure can go up. But I had to start the show this morning with a tribute to Dan Casper, and it really it hits home when people that you know are dying, or people that you know die. We can't just accept that these things happen. Asthma should not have killed this man. Cancer there should be more information on cancer, and there is. Oh, there is, but it's not being practiced by the American Medical Association. And what is the ADA, the American Dental Association? They still haven't realized that fluoride is a human carcinogen and a catalyst for that reacts with other chemicals in the body and create disease, bioaccumulates in the body. They still haven't realized that. So the AMA, the ADA, the FDA, the CDC, the EPA, the ICANN, which is going to be in charge of the internet once America gives it away, the CIA, the FBI, all at some level are totally corrupt. The NSA, for God's sake. Judge Andrew Napolitano says Snowden is an American hero. If it's true and then we're not being deceived by this system, I believe he is that. I believe he is an American hero and brave to do this, to do what he's done. But what do these politicians say? What are the Rumsfelds and the Cheneys that are giving Obama right cover with this whole Russia thing? Oh, he should be, just the most awful things in the world should happen to Mr. Snowden, because what he puts out there is going to sooner or later, You're going to find out what Dick Cheney's part was in 9/11. You're going to find out what Donald Rumsfeld's part was in 9/11. There's 28 pages that nobody is really allowed to see. Only a few people have seen it. And there is a push from some politicians. Walter Jones, Republican congressman down south, he is part of it. He's part of trying to find out what really happened on that day. But everybody's just accepted it, just like everybody accepts that people are going to die from asthma. People are going to get cancer and die. People are going to get heart disease and die. People are going to get this and die. People are going to stub their toe and die. People are going to break their finger and fucking die. And then the media is just like we've been dog trained to accept the price of gasoline. I remember when it was $1.25 for super and $1 for regular, and I was like, do I want to pay the extra 25 cents for super? I would gladly do that now, and as I'm sure you would. As I'm sure you would. We are being lied to on a massive scale. It's time for a peaceful revolution, if that's even possible at this point with all the technology that they have, the drones. They could tase you, drop a grenade on you, do whatever. I'm going to go into more of this, but see, the American people don't see the urgency in anything because we're free. We're free. Did you know that we're free? Did you know that we're free? Somebody's out there beeping. It's been raining constantly in this Philadelphia region now for a couple days. And I guess that's pretty cool. Be nice to see some sun, but then, if there was a sunny sky or a blue sky, it wouldn't be blue for very long. It would be bastardized and apocalypticized. So what's going on over there in the chat room? Crawdad, Banjovi, Meat Dog. You're new, Meat Dog. Akbar Obama, Iota, everybody's in there. The usual suspects. I tell you, if what's going on in the world today doesn't make you angry enough to spit blood, or at times just shed a tear, you could be a friggin' zombie already. The walking, talking dead. Anyway, let's get into trouble, shall we? Let's get into trouble, man. Okay, Joe Friday. How you doing? You like that? The Shaligarch? The Shaligarch? I'm a Shaligarch. I'm the 0.01% that's killing babies all over the world and doesn't even care it. I might not even know it, but my money's going towards it. Your tax dollars as irregular sheep are going to kill people in other countries under the guise of the war on terror, which is a joke, just like the war on drugs. If you know how much of a joke the war on drugs is, you know that the war on terror is a joke. It's been used to take away your freedoms. If you haven't had them or experienced them being taken away, that will probably soon happen to you. Another guy that I played some jams with, recorded some music with, was in Philadelphia, was pulled over. He was under the influence of alcohol. He did not get a breathalyzer. He got a blood draw. He got a blood draw because they said if he didn't, they would throw the entire book at him. what book that was, the book of bullshit. But he agreed to it, and then they took his blood. So now, evidently, we are with the ever expanding militarization of our police departments. Now Philadelphia is doing most likely a DNA database. How exciting! How exciting is that? DNA mouth swabbing, that's been happening in the nearby region. Can we swab your mouth, we'll pay you $5 or something to swab your mouth for DNA. I mean, for, MRSA or something. I don't know. Anyway, the police are being used by the system to control the masses, because slowly even the most clueless of American will realize that something's wrong, and they'll be like, hey, stop that or something. Anyway, one of the earlier stories this week, as I said, there's a quake alert on the West Coast. They've been talking for years about the mega quake that could rock everybody's house, and not in the way like Stevie Ray. When your house isn't rocking, don't bother knocking. It's a mega quake. Earth's gonna open and swallow your ass. So anyway, that's on the menu, possibly. Let's see what's going on over at the drug report. More than 100 aftershocks, forces evacuations. I'm sure there's gas explosions. Geophysicists calm before the storm. Fear. Crowd turns on Stephen Colbert because he was like ching chong ding dong, some shit. And sooner or later, outrage as U.S. comedian mocks Asian Americans. I wrote something up on this. Like to hear it? Here we go. Cancel Colbert was one of the trending social media memes after Stephen uttered ching chong ding dong, foundation for sensitivity to Orientals or whatever. That's pretty messed up. I think they'd rather hear chickadee China, the Chinese chicken. I mean, I think that they would laugh at that possibly. And what was that? The jerkies? The jerky bros. Yeah, the jerky bros. The Obama family stayed in China. It's been nothing but a pain in the ass for the hotel staff. If you don't know, on your tax dollar, Michelle and the girls and her mother, went to China. And of course, the rights in China, they actually have mobile execution vans. Okay. Anybody who talks about the government, in a unfavorable way, you will be slowly murdered, and your organs will be sold. Okay? That's basically what goes on in Red China. And all they did when the leader of China came to America was to put up red flags and turn Manhattan, and other areas red. Okay, so it's not cool. But yeah, the mobile execution vans. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about how you're killing your people, because let's not bring that up here or talk about it too much, because when they start doing it here, then you'll be like, hey, China was doing it. Oh, no, we're China now. Ah. Now, we've been the beacon of freedom only because the 0.01% of bankers have allowed it. That's why. Use us for our freedom. Use us for our muscle, our men and women to go over there and fight and die for banker wars. You're not over there fighting for the freedom of us back here, because if you're fighting for our freedoms, we're losing them. So I don't expect people to fight harder so that we'll get our freedoms back. I just asked you to wake up. So one source said, we cannot wait until this is over. The Obama stay. Michelle's mom is apparently a total tyrant and has been abusing the staff at the Westin Hotel since her arrival. Needless to say, China is outraged at their behavior as the stay in a room that cost $8,350 per night or day. The mansion-like room is 35,000 square feet. Marion Robinson is Michelle's mommy, and she is apparently barking at everyone and wearing out her welcome. Staff member was quoted saying, we can't wait for this to be over. To tell you the truth, we entertain many important people, but this has been, I think, very different. Very nice way to say it. You might have gotten connived by Ninja Michelle. Okay, big story earlier this week. Vermont targeted by sheriffs who oppose new gun laws. Richard Mack, I think everybody's familiar with him. If not, he's a sheriff that sued the Clinton administration and won. Of course, it was about federal overreach. Not the reach around, but the federal overreach. President of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, that's the CSPOA. They told Bruce Parker of Watchdog.org and reported by Fox News that that his organization is calling for law enforcement officers in Vermont to refuse to enforce 3 new anti-gun measures approved by voters in Burlington 3 weeks ago. See, they're just taking on what's going on in Connecticut from the false staged shooting in Sandy Hook, which was predicted in the Batman movie. If you don't know, if you haven't seen that, I had to go back and look to see that and it actually was in there. It said Sandy Hook on Bane's terror list. This is Bane. I want Sandy Hook. Bane. Number one, gun owners to keep their guns under lock and key at all times in their homes. All right. Well, how does that stop a home invasion? It doesn't. You die. That's how it works. You die. No protection for yourself. Call the police. They'll be dead. You'll be dead when they get there. And if you're not, they'll throw some cocaine. They'll sprinkle some coke on you. and then you'll be dead. Or you'll go to jail if you live. Ban the carry of firearms in restaurants and bars altogether. Right? Okay. I guess restaurants and bars. No. Police have been authorized to confiscate guns in domestic disputes. Because you might shoot your lover. You might shoot your lover down. Max states that these measures, even though they were voted on and into law, they are blatantly unconstitutional. But what's the Constitution? It's just a piece of paper. It's a living document. We can chop it up, flip it up, cook it, barbecue it, and then whatever it says when it's done, that's what we're going to do. CSPOA is comprised of at least 17 various police associations and 500 sheriffs nationwide that have pledged to defy unconstitutional gun control laws, and pretty much, all unconstitutional laws. But when you don't have free speech and you can't protect yourself, what's next? Tyranny. Now, curiously, the mayor of Burlington, Vermont was a member of Bloomberg's coalition of anti-gun mayors. There's that name again, Bloomberg, the authoritarian. That guy. I played a little while ago. This guy was asking him questions, that all of Bloomberg's goons have guns that protect him, but they're allowed to have them. So he pointed that out, and then of course he was harassed by one of Bloomberg's goons for, whenever he sees him, he's pretty much harassed by him. However, the organization now largely defunct, Bloomberg's coalition, It's defunct as news hit the wires that a large percentage of the mayors were indicted on various corruption charges. No, really? Yeah, we can commit crimes, but you can't have a gun. And you can't cross the street on an angle. You can't jaywalk. You can't do this. You know, and if we catch you with some of the drugs that the CIA shipped in, then you're going to jail for that. Nonviolent filth. Again, in addition to this, the news report that the group, Bloomberg's, vicious, vile, group, of anti-gun scummy mayors, the hidden agenda was for nationwide gun confiscation. Several sources in Vermont government stated that new laws in all likelihood would be all negated when Vermont's firearms laws are reviewed by the state legislation. And of course, that's what a lot of people said. Oh, Obamacare is going to get, that'll get flipped up and destroyed because, that's just, it's unconstitutional. It's going to, no, it hasn't. And it's more detrimental than ever because they have a blank check to rewrite. We're going to go over some of that too as well. The Obamacare, the ever changing world in which we live in. Live and let die. All right. So, kudos to Sheriff Richard Mack and, fighting for, exactly what Sandy Hook was meant to do happened at the end of the year with the gun registration. I'm not a maniac. I found out what is going on in this country. I found out the scum and corruption at the highest levels. They will sell you out. They will sell you and your families out. You need to protect yourself. They don't fucking care about you. They don't care about you. When a politician said the American people won't put up with this, the American people will put up with anything. Large percentage, sad to say. It's a small percentage that takes advantage of their free speech. You see why? Me here today, everyone else following every week, every day, all the shows. Guns, you got to get one and you got to learn how to use it and be safe with it. Women out there, they can't wait to make a victim out of you. So don't let them make a victim out of you. Make a victim out. Well, you're probably the guy that's trying to hurt you. You will shoot him or her and they will be the victim because you shot them. Not that they were, that they were going to do anything bad to you. They will twist shit around. Do yourself a favor. You're going to buy a gun for self-protection, for self-defense. Buy a book that tells you exactly what to do. There's plenty of books. I think there's one out there that says, all right, your gun's hot, the perp's not. I think that was one of the books. Your gun's hot, the perp's not, meaning you shot him or her, and they're dead. Now what? Get that book. Read that book because this system doesn't care about your constitutional rights. They're erasing them. They're taking them away. And of course, constitutional law professor Barack Obama, who's basically just rear-ended the Constitution and Conrad, the Constitution. I suggest you check that out if nobody has seen any of the animated cartoons called Conrad, the Constitution. Check them out. They're a riot, but at the same time, you learn something. They're not for kids, though. Not for kids, though, man. It's not good for the kiddies to see. But it's your job to protect them. Not the government's job to protect the kids. It's your job to protect the kids. So if you can't protect your kids, don't fucking have any. Nah. I don't know. I mean, just a thought. Just a thought, man. So yeah, Stephen Colbert getting crushed because, I'm witty. I'm a liberal. Blah. Oh, possible Ebola case in Canada. Man returned from Liberia in the West African region that is currently suffering a deadly outbreak of an unidentified hemorrhagic fever. And then I just wonder, how is travel to that area of the world not cut off, being highly suspect? No, because they don't care about that. They don't care about quarantining something if it's bad. They want it out. They want it to spread amongst the sheeple. They want you to experience, bleeding from the eyes, ears, and ass with hemorrhage. That's some scary shit. I'm not going to lie. As of Monday, he was in critical condition in Saskatoon. A provincial medical officer said there is no risk to the public. How the hell does he know that there is no risk to the general public? These types of viruses have a 21-day incubation period, and the man started feeling and noticeably being sick when he was already home. The virus resembling Ebola has struck Guinea, with cases also reported in Liberia. Beautiful place. Don't visit there. 61 people have died. Health officials in Guinea capital Conakry have said that the virus is not Ebola. More to come as this story either fades or becomes more prevalent. Here's a super article that I read from a blogger called Michael Krieger, libertyblitzkrieg.com, I believe. Obama administration is no, wait a minute. I'm sorry, that's coming up. This is I read into wrong. New York reporter said Obama administration is the greatest enemy of press freedom in a generation. New York Times reporter labeled the current administration just that on Friday, the 21st. He explained that the White House seeks to control the flow of information, and those that refuse to play along will be punished. It was at a conference of journalists and communication professionals called Sources and Secrets, held in New York City. You can see now with the NDAA and all this other stuff, all these other draconian, tyrannical, Reich-like rules and regulations, they can just disappear ya. Hey, buddy. I'm gonna erase you now. What do you mean? Come with us. Sir. And of course, America is no longer listening to Obama. I wrote up a little report on this. This once labeled gifted orator seems to be dying on the vine, as at this point no one is listening to him. The spark that brought us the NSA spying to Syria, coupled with Benghazi and Solyndra, then the IRS scandal that continues without anyone going to jail or Obama getting impeached, continues. It is possible that enough people have stopped listening to Barack Obama. We know that Oprah and Jamie Foxx and the black woman on Fox News is still selling out to color and not common sense. Of course, they're selling out to color and not common sense. It makes sense, Common sense isn't so common. So let's sell out to color. Because all the white people have screwed everything up so bad, a black guy couldn't possibly do it, right? Meh. The pathetic desperation of Obama and his small crowd of blind worshipers, Funny or Die, LeBron James, the appearance on Ellen, so we heard that everybody loves what you've done. Everybody just loves what you've done, Mr. Obama. Oh, I'm Ellen. I'm a victim. Meh. Also keep in mind that the lesbian and gay community, the LGBT community, gets exploited by Obama and criminal Eric Holder. Right before the 2012 election, he was like, hey, you lesbians and gays, I love you. I want you to know it. Code words for, I need your votes and support. I said it before and I'll say it again. If any group allows themselves to be exploited by these scumbag politicians, these blood-drinking baby killers, You are pathetic. If you allow this filth, this vile, wretched bile of non-human filth exploit you, you are filth as well. And get your special treatment, you delicious victim, you. Let's see. Do we have any delicious victims out there that we can exploit for votes, even though we don't need them because all the voting is corrupt anyway? Filth. Banker deaths shine light on stress in industry. How about they're being killed to cover up for the financial crimes that have taken, that have happened, just over and over and over again, that eventually will come out, but they won't be able to say anything to the judge because they're dead. Splatter City, pancake banker. More, of course, I said more neocons giving Obama right cover. Cheney, Rumsfeld, and now Condoleezza Rice, beating the drum for war while calling Obama weak and saying that America is being seen as weak. What criminals. What absolute criminals. The woman who called the mayor of San Francisco on September 10th, 2001 and said, "Oh, don't fly anywhere tomorrow, Mayor. Mr. Mayor. He the Mr. Mayor of San Francisco, not flying on the 11." They knew exactly what was happening. Whether they let it happen or they were behind it, these criminals need to go. There are a few people that have less credibility than Condoleezza, who's going to remember Rice's treasure trove of lies. We never expected that the terrorists would fly into the tower. They would use them as missiles, even though that's what came out of that machine over there in June. Said Al Qaeda posed to strike. Yeah, right. Right. So who is going to remember these treasure trove of lies from Condoleezza? Obama has pretty much continued everything that Bush started and then some. When they all call him weak, they are giving him right cover. The system and Obama needs to keep the left-right paradigm charged up for the shameful, complicit media to consume and then vomit out all over the clueless tards of Earth. All you have to remember is that these actors and actresses work for the same scumbag interest that want to take the U.S. down, the same bastards that have triggered the economic downfall that isn't happening because the counterfeiting of money and the shit media that lies to idiots daily that was purchased years ago and gotten consolidated. That's why everybody thinks the economy is coming back. Yay, yay, yay. Thank you, Obama. Thank you for everything. We love what you've done. You're the greatest thing in the world. Obama. Obama. Oh, Obama. All right. The head of the Fed is new, but the old one's still grazing off the land. Another article from the Shaligarch. Former puppet banker of the baby killers that run the world, Ben Bernanke, is to have an intimate dinner with 8 hedge fund managers Wednesday of this coming week. David Einhorn, not associated with Ace Ventura. Louis Moore Bacon. Louis Moore Bacon, please. That's not a made-up name, huh? Larry Robbins and Mike Novogratz are just a few names that this most likely Vulture's Picnic, to quote a Greg Palast book, the Vulture's Picnic, Bernanke will make $250,000 for his fee to speak to the outer ring of criminals. He just recently commanded the same money figure for a speech at Abu Dhabi. Leaked info regarding the content was provided. Topics will include the 2008 banking crisis, which was all pretty much engineered, and that Bernanke had a heck of a lot to do with. And, of course, so did Alan Greenspan. The current state of disarray in Washington, and, of course, monetary policy. The dinner will be hosted by BTIG, which was co-founded by former Goldman Sachs partner Stephen Stanker. I think that's his name. Bernanke will get another $300,000 for an upcoming talk in Turkey this year. How cool, man. Living off the land. Sucking up the sand. Let's see here. All right, I wanted to, I'm going to have to hook this system up here because I recorded this report, and of course this isn't going to work for me. It's going to totally wreck my whole scene here, man. Let's see if we can get this out there. Oh, that's not even going to fit. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV network. We're about an hour, almost an hour and a half into the program. I'm here every Sunday for 3 hours from 11 a.m. Eastern Time to 2 p.m., followed by Dinah Everett Snyder and the Canary Chronicles. And then from 3 to 5, Hal Anthony, Behind the Woodshed. Don't miss it. Everybody brings a particular perspective to this world movie, the soap opera that the elite have provided for you, which includes planes that go missing, never-ending wars, banker bailouts, cancer and disease, never finding a cure for it, because mostly they want you dead. I'm not kidding, man. This is for reals, man. All right, so this guy, right? Hold on a second. Let me see if we get this. Why your statements are... I don't know if this is going to be loud enough, man. Anyway, Liberty Blitzkrieg, Michael Krieger, the New York Times covers oligarch welfare, tax breaks for private planes, yachts, and more. Did you know the reason for growing inequality in America is because of the character deficiencies of the lower classes? Were you aware of that? Were you bloody aware, man? That's insane. Also that the poor just need to be more like the rich. Yeah, some guy said this. Well, with oligarch and corporate welfare finally getting some attention, it is quite obvious that people aren't falling for the bullshit anymore. Billionaire Sam Zell continues to cover up for whatever crimes against humanity he has been a part of or behind, with comments unrelated to why such a large gap between the rich and the poor. Zell recently appeared on Bloomberg TV and said the 1% are being pummeled because it's politically convenient to do so. The problem is that the world and this country should not talk about the world and this country should not talk about envy of the 1%. It should talk about emulating that 1%. The 1% work harder. The 1% are much bigger factors in all forms of our society. All right? So let me go ahead and I'm going to play this, my field reporter, me. I'm my own field reporter. I can't afford to hire somebody, so here we go.
An open letter to Sam Zell, Why Your Statements Are Delusional and Dangerous by Michael Krieger of LibertyBlitzkrieg.com. Now, Sam Zell is a billionaire, and he was just recently on Bloomberg television where he said the 1% are being pummeled because it's politically convenient to do so. The problem is that the world and this country should not talk about the envy of the 1%. It should talk about emulating the 1%. The 1% work harder. The 1% are much bigger factors in all forms of our society. Now, again, this is from Michael Krieger, so I'm reading this, and this is him, not me. Mr. Zell, I've seen clips of your television appearances several times in the past. I can't say those appearances elicited strong reactions from me. I can recall being offended at things you said, and I can remember agreeing with you on other occasions. However, yesterday I found your statements on class warfare, envy, and the 1% delusional and dangerous. I will address these 2 points separately. Why your statements are delusional. Individuals, social classes, even cultures and nation states develop storylines and so-called myths about themselves and how they fit into the bigger picture of current events in human history. We all see ourselves and whatever groups with which we identify with a particular social, political, and economic context. This is obvious, yet it is much more difficult to look at your own myths and question them later. It is far easier to look at other groups' myths and heap criticisms on them. That is basically all you do. For the purpose of this letter, I will focus on socioeconomic groups that people are now using in these contemporary United States. Ever since Occupy Wall Street popularized the terms, many people have divided themselves into two overly simplistic groups, the so-called 99% and the 1%. However, this isn't the real struggle. I was always against the 1% label because the true cancer, the true problem, comes from a much smaller slice of the population. It comes from what I call the oligarchs, the 0.01%, and the politicians that do their bidding. This is your class, Mr. Zell, so let's get that straight right off the bat. That doesn't mean everyone in the 0.01% should be vilified. I am certain there are many well-meaning, decent, and honestly good people in that bucket. Nevertheless, what the past 5 years have proven without a shadow of a doubt is that this class collectively represents the most destructive, delusional, and counterproductive members of our society. Your statements on Bloomberg yesterday prove my point exactly. Let's start with the most offensive and asinine statement. You said the problem is that the world and this country should not talk about envy of the 1%. It should talk about emulating the 1%. The 1% work harder. First of all, you talk of envy. Now, without a doubt, there is a significant portion of the so-called 99% that would want nothing more than the riches and power of the 1%, but certainly not all of them, or even necessarily the majority. In my life, I have various experiences and met a lot of people. I lived most of my life in Manhattan and the last 3 years in Boulder, Colorado. What defines Manhattan more than anything else is that it is a money-chasing place. People who live there are generally obsessed with money as well as materialism and want as much as they can get in the shortest period of time. People in Colorado are not this way. When I lived in New York City, almost every conversation I overheard would consist of how to make more money and get bigger bonuses at work. In 3 years in Colorado, I cannot recall ever hearing a similar conversation. Of course, this is an overgeneralization, but there is certainly truth to it. It's fine to want to make money. It's also fine to just want to be comfortable, content, and fulfilled in what you do. I'm not making a judgment call here. What I am saying is that people like you, Mr. Zell, who are constantly surrounded by people that think just like you, people who obsess 24/7 about how to make more money on top of money, you think that everyone thinks just like you. Sorry to break it to you, they don't. So this is where your delusion begins. You think everyone that has issues with you oligarchs and how the 0.01 is destroying our economy and society is simply envious because you assume they think like you do. Certainly, if you were poor, you would be envious of the rich. You've made that clear. However, that is not the primary motivation of the anger and resentment swelling up from the underclasses. I will use myself as an example. I worked on Wall Street from the moment I graduated Duke University. By the time I was in my 20s, my career was taking off. I was well into the 1% by my late 20s, and I had continued along that path. Who knows, maybe one day I could have been an oligarch like you. If you were me, you would have continued to pound the pavement of the world's financial centers to one day become the master of the universe. But I don't want to be you, Sam Zell. I voluntarily took myself off that career path at the very top of my game because I became so disillusioned by the monetary and financial system after the crisis and the bailout of the crooks that caused it, basically your socioeconomic class. I'm not trying to portray myself as special or some sort of hero. I'm just making the point that from your point of view, my choice was completely irrational and probably one you could never comprehend. Yet there are plenty of people like me out there, and you don't seem to understand this because your entire worldview revolves around wealth. Your misdiagnosis of the root cause of the current dissent in America is a result of your obliviousness to the actual concerns of the 99%, a group about which you speak with such certainty, yet certainly know almost nothing about. In fact, my website is dedicated to highlighting all the destructive trends happening in this nation today, from record high food stamp participation to declining real wages and the reality that young people need to take on so much debt they become indentured serfs from the moment they enter the workforce. From a loss of Fourth Amendment rights due to NSA spying, to the militarization of the police force, from oligarch immunity from serious financial crimes that average citizens would be thrown in jail for life for, to trillion-dollar bailouts with zero strings attached for the financial community. From the over-prosecution of some of our bravest citizens such as Aaron Swartz, Barrett Brown, and Private Manning to a fraudulent two-party sham political system entirely controlled by your socio-economic class, the 0.01%. Well, I agree that President Obama talks in simplistic, imbecilic class warfare terms. What does he do in reality? He is the most oligarch coddling president this nation has ever seen. Talk is cheap, Zell. I only listed a few of the root problems causing dissent in this country. They are very real. They are not going away. And as long as oligarchs like you pretend that they don't exist, and this is all a result of envy, nothing will get better. In fact, it will get much, much worse. I see very little envy. I see a populace waking up to a giant fucking fraud full of below average cronies thieving, and people getting pissed about it. I see a 0.01% class of oligarchs to which the free market and the rule of law do not apply. So I'm not sure what exactly the 99% is supposed to be emulating. Your unaccountable criminality? Of course, I couldn't end this section without calling you out on the most absurd thing you said. The 1% work harder. Where to begin? First of all, I'd like some hard data to back up this statement. You complain about class warfare and then hypocritically say something like that. How is that not class warfare? You, a billionaire, come on television and tell 320 million people that the reason they feel disillusioned and agitated is because they are lazy. It is not class warfare. That's not class warfare. I don't know what it is. But let's take this a step further. Let's assume that the average person in the 1% works harder than the average person in the 99%. This reality still means that there are likely millions, if not tens of millions, of above average workers within the 99% that work considerably harder than the average 1%. Even if you don't accept my numbers, you can't deny there would still be hundreds of thousands that fall into that bucket. So what do you have to say about them? Furthermore, where does your expertise on the work ethic of the 99% come from? I highly doubt you spend much time hanging out with them. While your statements are destructive, this is genuine dissent in America, and it would behoove you to actually try to understand it, rather than assuming it is represented by inane political rhetoric from Barack Obama. In case you hadn't noticed, Obama isn't popular. Neither are the Democrats and Republicans. In fact, a recent Gallup poll showed that 42% of Americans identify as independent versus 31% as Democrats and 25% as Republicans. This is the highest independent identification on record. People know something is very wrong. They know the system is broken. Generally speaking, the dissent from both the progressive side and the libertarian side overlaps on many issues that you seem to be oblivious to. These are, number one, opposition to Wall Street bailouts, the concept of too big to fail, and the growth of crony capitalism generally. Number two, the fact that the rule of law is not applied to oligarchs, politicians, and government officials. Three, the destruction of civil liberties through the nation and the militarization of police. Four, endless and pointless wars abroad, as well as the destructive war on drugs at home. As you yourself admit, the 1% are a much bigger factor in all forms of our society. This is true. And since the 0.01% wields even greater power, you must accept responsibility for these issues. Instead, you come on television and call everyone envious. The fact that there is such tremendous overlap on such major issues from activists on the so-called left and the right is extraordinarily important. These are real grievances that are not going away. Angst on these issues must be dealt with, and no amount of superficial, ignorant statements will change that reality. The only thing that the arrogant oligarch attitude will do is cause more people to despise you. Is that what you want? I don't think you're a bad guy with evil intent. I think you are a money-obsessed financier who hasn't taken the time to actually understand what is really going on within your own country because you have your head so far up your ass. It's hard for anyone to actually look at themselves in the mirror and be honest about themselves and the myths they create. However, history shows us that when decadent plutocrats are unable to do so, we end up with disastrous situations. situations which oftentimes violent and result in are often violent and result in despotism. A situation I desperately hope to avoid, and truly hope you and others like you recognize your error before it is too late. In Liberty, Michael Krieger. Now, this was a very powerful letter of a guy who gets it. He really gets it. This is the Dalai Lama here. Talking about this incredible blog, this open letter to this Sam Zell, billionaire. And he says that he doesn't believe that this guy has an evil intent. That can be debated. Just so much in here that is so accurate. That Obama is a front man for these oligarchs. He is out there creating class warfare, racial warfare, racial unrest. He's with the Pope this week talking about social justice. I hear the same things on Fox News, which I do watch a lot of, just to find out what's going on in the world, to find out, to give me more information of what's going on the right side. I can't stomach listening to any of the left because I see it all day long on the internet. And quite frankly, I don't want to vomit all over myself. But the Democrats are a plague, and all I have to do is say a name, Nancy Pelosi, and that pretty much sums it up. No, wait, I'll say another, Harry Reid, who's, supposedly started his political career.
All right. I already mentioned that I hate Harry Reid. Okay, so that was a great article by Michael Krieger of libertyblitzkrieg.com. Check it out. It's got a lot of good stuff in there. Obviously, at one time, working on Wall Street, and did pretty well. So if that's the case, I don't know too much more about him, but he certainly seems like he's on the right path there as far as realizing that the 0.01% controls everything, controls politicians, controls just about everything, and steers about everything. So, as I said, I've got a little bit more on this. Crony capitalism for the 0.01 starts at the very top with the Federal Reserve, which consists of top-down economic planners who manipulate the money supply and interest rates for the benefit of the financial oligarchs class. It then trickles down through lobbyist money into the halls of the District of Corruption, Washington, D.C., and ultimately filters down to local government and then the average sloth on the street, and disability and then welfare. Side note here, 45% on disability insurance are fraud cases. I, like Krieger, saw the 60-minute piece last year that focused on that fraud. Just one tentacle of the corruption squid squeezing the shit out of our once free republic. Once we fully realize that we live in a culture of pure corruption and that the Obama, Clinton, Bush family, most politicians should be in jail, only then can the healing begin. If that happens on a massive scale, these criminals will have a militarized police force there to cut you and anyone else in half. It's like this. They either build a force to protect them, and hopefully that force doesn't turn on them. I'm saying I hope it does. Then, or they go to jail and then they rot in a cell. The politicians that voted for all the unconstitutional legislation, like the NDAA, voted yay because they know they are guilty and will be punished. So they vote for and support the police state. This vile system creates victims and then grandstands for laws to help them. Then the Republicans come in and criticize the program pushing. Then the Republicans come in and criticize the program pushing the sheeple closer to their Democratic enslaver. It's like a tennis match between a Democrat and a Republican, and the tennis ball is policy or some talking point. Problem is that the game's outcome is already known. Both parties benefit from the corporate welfare, and if they tried to stop it, really tried to stop it, they would be killed. Again, it is crony capitalism that has led to the gross inequality, not free market capitalism. But now that's the 0.01% have sucked the system dry. Capitalism is bad, so introduce Obama and introduce social justice and all those other keywords and phrases that appeal to the victims of faux injustice that the predatory system created. From that point, it is a slippery slope into despotism now that the executive branch has all this new power. Unconstitutional power, that is. The only way they get it is by staging one event after the next. The 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and let's not forget Oklahoma City, and then the granddaddy of them all, 9/11, and then everything else that they staged since then. All the so-called foiled terror plots that the alphabet agency started by trying to entrap some stupid dupe to do bad things, then at the last minute arrest them and say that a plot was foiled so that the sheeple in the terrorized world will feel more terrorized, but thankful that the government was there to stop it. Hey, government. They didn't stop the Boston bombing, and that's because they wanted it to happen. Sarnett brothers were alphabet agency assets, and of course their a friend or their buddy, their acquaintance that was killed by the FBI, those agents that accidentally shot and killed him, were free from any wrongdoing. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. The 0.01% are behind all of it, but that couldn't happen because people wouldn't do awful things like that. Now, would they? Why would incredibly rich, wealthy people do such heinous things? Because they can. Because money buys everything and everybody, and it truly is the source of pretty much most of the evil in the world. But ultimately, it's not the 0.01% that are enslaving the world. It's the tards that do nothing about it. It was Martin Luther King that said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So, all right, UCY.TV, Broadcasting Network. You'll see why. Just tune in. All right. So we've got a Cancer Boy returns and a number of things over here. Natural Society. It's an incredible website put together by a young journalist, Anthony Gucciardi. And over at Natural Society, they cover a lot of stories. One of them is this one here. Let's go ahead and play this and about the GMO babies. Take it away.
This report from Natural Society, biotech is creating GMO human babies. What could possibly go wrong? With the human race slowly being killed off by GMO food, environmental poisons, petroleum, plastics, chemtrails, pharmaceuticals, vaccinations, radiation, and weaponized warfare, the powers that be are working on a new strain of stronger humans to carry on our existence. Forget designer babies with specific gene preferences determined by parents. We're talking about the utter transformation by a technocracy of the human genome. It is called transhumanism, and scientists in the UK and US have already submitted proposals to legally create genetically modified organisms, babies. So, actually, GMO human embryos have already been created. Techno-eugenics, you might call it, a way to appropriate humanity for the use of an elite class. It seems innocuous at first, using stem cells to help women with fertility issues get pregnant, or to help develop a healthy fetus in a woman who has damaged DNA, but it is something to be taken, but it isn't something to be taken lightly or without deep moral concern. The same energy that created the atom bomb could have been used for less malevolent purposes, and this is no different. Sure, a bionic arm for a Vietnam vet who has lost his due to an IDE explosion is a good thing, but improving upon the human form until we look more like Iron Man than that of a human being, what is the good in that? For some, it is considered our destiny. To understand transhumanism, you have to understand the physiological leanings of some of its earliest members. Julian Huxley, brother of Aldous, who authored Brave New World, first used this word, transhumanism. Huxley was a member of the British Eugenics Society, eugenics being the touchstone of this movement. Members of the FDA say they are worried that not enough testing had been done on animals or in vivo, or is that vitro, to start creating genetically modified babies. And Dr. Evan Snyder of the Sanford Burnham Medical Research Institute in La Jolla, California, who chairs the 25-member committee which will determine if this is the right direction for humanity to go in, said, I think there was a sense of the committee that this particular point in time there was probably not enough data either in animals or in vitro to conclusively move on to human trials without answering a few additional questions. A few questions. How about a slew of them? One, who will determine which genes are to be vetted and disposed of and which genes will be kept? Who is to prevent this from becoming a highly technologically advanced version of Stalinism or Nazism? Two, will some races be considered inferior to others, and will designer babies only be available to certain groups of people? We already know that the elite class wants to perpetuate their own bloodlines and weed out the disposable class, as Bill Gates has been known to call us. Of course, and here's a quote by Bill Gates. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, and reproductive health systems, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Again, Bill Gates. Number three, we will be conditioned to accept their enhanced state like we are being asked to accept drones and other bionic warfare. Will we be asked to do this? What happens if we don't want to be enhanced or modified at all? Number four, if government agencies and corporations create our new DNA, who has the ownership to our bodies? Is it already well known that DNA banks exist. Well, it is already well known that DNA banks exist wherein corporations have been allowed to patent specific genes, including those which cause disease, so that they can offer the cure for reducing the diseases they cause. In a 105-page decision, 2 federal judges have allowed corporations to own genes again. Number 5, is the act of creating humans morally acceptable in any way, shape, or form? Companies like Myriad Genetics are already fighting over the ownership, which is natural, and that which is genetically modified or man-made DNA. According to Myriad, isolated DNA does not exist in nature, and isolated DNAs, unlike native DNAs, can be used as primers and probes for diagnosing cancer. At techdirt.com, Mike Masnick made the colorful analogy that this is like arguing that because a severed finger is not attached to a hand, the finger is not naturally occurring and thus is patentable. If you want big pharma and biotech companies to be able to own every square inch of you, right down to your DNA, then this is a great advance in technology and medicine. The babies you make will not be your own, and the DNA in your own body will be patented by some corporation that has the same rights as a person. This isn't a brave new world. It is a completely insane one. Now, I mean, we have heard, several times, it's the end of the article there, but.
All right, so genetically modified human beings on the horizon, probably already there, probably already have them. I mean, test tube babies, right? Isn't that genetically? I mean, that was the beginning of this transhumanism. The transhumanistic view. Transhumanism today. Subscribe now. Get in front. Get in the top of the line for your transhumanism module. We're moving towards non-human reality. Anyway, okay, so what happened to the boy who had cancer and ran away from chemo 20 years ago is alive, and he is well due to alternative solutions. Where's this guy? Shit. All right. So, here it is. In 1994, a nationwide TV news star took over the airwaves featuring a cancer-riddled teenager runaway with parents pleading for his return. The runaway's name was Billy Best. You can look up more about him at BillyBest.com. And he returned home under one condition: no chemotherapy. He and his parents went alternative. Now he is very healthy and cancer-free, back home working in a local health food store, consulting parents of children who are pushed into chemo and participating in medical school seminars on patients' choice. He continues to be interviewed by alternative news sites whenever a story breaks on families having to become fugitives for refusing chemo and radiation on their children. He and his mom have a site. It's that Billy Best. Oh, I'm sorry, BillyBest.net. So check that out. I'm actually going to pull that up. I'm going to pull that damn thing up. Yeah, there he is. There's Billy. Beating cancer with alternative methods. They hate that. Stop it, Billy. Stop being so selfish, Billy. Let the children die. Let them die. Of course, that's not my standpoint. Just mocking the system. I'm mocking the system. Someone has to. Let's see here. Billy's story summarized from the bits and pieces of media coverage since the time Billy ran off. One gets the impression that Billy wound up in California. And from there, he discovered cancer healing protocols for his Hodgkin's lymphoma. But actually, he never reached California. That was his Greyhound bus destination. Originally, he wound up in Houston, Texas. Instead of roaming the streets as many teenager runaways would, he was fortunate enough to meet up with a fellow skateboarders who helped house him. Billy had no idea that there was a nationwide hunt for his return. His parents had contacted several national news outlets out of concern for his whereabouts. Anyway, so his choice was this 714X and SEAC T. I don't know too much about it. I'm learning more about it, but if you go to billybest.net, it'll tell you there. But great story. And of course, today, if a parent says, I don't want my kid to have chemotherapy, then automatically you're just a scumbag parent, because everybody believes that this medical system is legitimate. It's not. It's not. Some people do, get chemotherapy and radiation and, they live longer. But the bottom line is chemotherapy and radiation destroy other areas of the body. So you will get cancer somewhere else, if not the same cancer coming back. Because it doesn't address what the real problem is, and that's malnutrition and the acidity of the body. All right, let's take a look at a few other things here. On Brazilian court says no to GMO corn. That's cool. I mean, how are the people down there able to stop the flow of GMO? And here in this country, we really literally have no say, and supposedly the freest country that ever was, the freest, the freedom that we've had. And yet California rigged the vote so that GMOs didn't have to be labeled. The goal of GMOs is to get everybody to eat them, and it will be some sort of binary, along with other toxins, some kind of binary effect, I truly believe. Our food has been weaponized. Bottom line. Food has been weaponized. Monsanto fights GMO labeling. Of course, the progenitor of GMOs in biotech. See, everything that they do is based on, we're going to be able to create food for the starving. Oh, that's so nice. They're such nice people over there. Oh, they're just doing such good things for humanity. Oh, it's just so nice. But they're not. They're not. They're not. They're not. There's a revolving door between the FDA and Monsanto. And the FDA, as I said, is corrupt. EPA corrupt. NSA, CDC. Name it. It's corrupt. And it's doing shit to harm you and your family. We have an illegitimate government. It's that simple. They don't care about you. They don't care whether you live or die. They didn't care enough to tell you that Fukushima fallout and radiation was coming across the Pacific Ocean that hit the West Coast within the last 3 to 6 months, and more coming. There's more on the way. It's going to get you. You can't avoid it. It's coming. The seafood. But you won't know that because these scumbags own the media, and the media is not going to tell you. The only people that have really been reporting on it are Fox News. That's why see, you're going to see with Obama, Fox News is going to point out the stuff that he does. There's things that he does that Fox News doesn't report. So that's what makes them illegitimate. Just so much that is affecting our health, and we're not being told about it. They're jacking us. They've hijacked our bodies. They've hijacked our minds through this crap system, this fake culture bullshit. From the gangster rap to the Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber. What is that? Miley Cyrus going rogue with that tongue, man, and they're twerking and putting dicks on herself. Any kind of projectile will do. I mean, she was supposed to be America's sweetheart. That Hannah Montana, what happened to you? Was it the Jews? I mean, what? Who? Anyway, Mayans win huge battle to ban GMO. Cannabis can conquer Lyme disease. Lyme. So let's see here. So yeah, many things here. Let's go back to the homepage here. All right, so apparently there are 10 foods to not eat. Let's see, what is it? Barley, wheat, oats, and rye. Basically wheat, gluten. Stay away from it. You feel better. I know it's tough. I know, right? I know. Lunch meats with sodium nitrite in them. I'm not sure whether it's, I mean, when I go to a Whole Foods market, they have meat there that does not have the preservatives. I'm going to try to find out whether that's okay. Anytime you're eating a lot of meat, though, animal protein, too much of it over-acidifies the body. You don't want to over-acidify the body. Plus, it's got a slow transit system in there, so you probably want to, what is it? Psyllium, different things like that can cleanse out your immune system is in the gut. See, that's where the GMOs come in. The immune system, a large portion of your immune system is in the gut. So what the GMOs do, it goes in there and creates an imbalance. Creates an imbalance in the digestive tract, which then affects your your overall health. So, trying to see if Jordy's out there today. We're going to talk a little bit about all different kinds of stuff, and we're going to talk about MRSA. And this MRSA is what's killing that. I mean, there's any number of different things that Jordan DeYoung has done with energy medicine, Rife-style technologies that have, let's just say, aided in the reversal of a lot of bad things. So if you're out there, Jordan, give me a shout. And let's talk. Let's talk Thai. Let's talk Thai. All right, so there's 8 ways to reduce cell phone radiation. The world loves its cell phones so much that there are more cell phones on this planet than people. While these technological devices can offer incredible service and ease in hectic modern world, they can also be a serious health hazard. Cell phones emit radio frequency energy, a form of non-ionizing radiation. Our bodies absorb this radiation and have a difficult time processing it, leading to numerous bodily complications. One study found that 10 years of cell phone use resulted in an average 290% increased risk of brain tumor development. Interestingly, the tumor development was found on the side of the head where the cell phone was most used. Hello. Anyway, and while everyone's soft tissues are especially affected by cell phone use, due to developing organs, low bone density of the skull, lower body weight, and less effective blood-brain barrier, children are very vulnerable to cell phone radiation. It's easy to see why protecting yourself from cell phone radiation is more important than ever before. Let's see what we got here. Okay, number 1, use the speakerphone. Number 2, keep your phone charged up. Keep your phone charged up. 3, text instead of talk. 4, don't talk while you drive. 5, look for low radiation emitting phones. There are several out there. 6, go old school, use a landline. 7, don't put the cell phone to your ear until a call connects. 8, minimize use. There you go. 9, keep your cell phone far away from you while you sleep, or simply not using your cell. There's no reason for it to be close to you if you aren't using it, unless you're expecting a call, especially if you keep it on sound, not vibrate. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
How's everything?
Everything's good.
Cool.
I like the show. I keep my cell phone on airplane mode all the time.
You do?
Yeah, when I sleep, I don't have a family, too much, and I don't know what emergency I could encounter, so I just keep it on airplane mode a lot if I'm sleeping,
Yeah, what I usually do is I kind of turn the cell phone data off.
Yeah.
And just the other day I kind of left it outside the bedroom, but I can hear the alarm, so I kind of use it as an alarm. I actually should get another alarm, but so I do that. But what they say here is that obviously talk and text instead of talk. Keep your phone charged up. Now, I didn't even read why they do that, but the more the batteries charge up, the less that it's got to work. The more that it's got to work to, with the lower battery, it probably puts out more damaging radiation, I guess.
I don't think texting's very safe.
Just touching the phone is probably not good for you.
Well, when you get that texting signal, I think there's a boost in the power right there, as opposed to a normal conversation you're having with someone.
Yeah, anytime it transmits, I've tested it before. It goes into a higher power output or wattage, I guess.
And it's probably a different frequency coming in too, because that's a different kind of signal.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I usually do speakerphone. I have like a stereo in the car that's got a Bluetooth. So,
the big thing that I do is I go to CNET reviews and I'll look for low radiation cell phones.
Yeah.
Before I buy one, and you just go to the top 20 lowest SAR. So that's the effective radiation rating for the cell phone. So
yeah, it's right there. Look for low radiation emitting phones. There is a list of 20 best phones for low radiation. And of course, it references CNET, like you said.
Well, there was legislation in California that got all that passed, and they had all these cell phone lobbyists on TV, and they freaked me out so bad.
Yeah.
Well, they're like, "Oh, we never recommend that you're ever within 1 inch of the phone, ever." It's like, well, if I'm touching the phone, am I within 1 inch?
You're totally within.
It's like, yeah, and like, look up some of the highest radiation phones, and tell me if the iPhone's in there. It usually makes the list.
Yeah, pretty much. Let me see. Cell phones with the highest. Let's take a look. What do we got here? We've got, is it gonna, well, that's weird. Motorola i576. It's a flip phone.
Yep.
Kyocera XTC. Kyocera Wildcard M1000. And these look like really crappy, like Virgin Mobile, crappy little phones, and they put out that much. I guess it's because they're such maybe like low quality, because they're like for Virgin Mobile, Boost Mobile, the ones that you don't have to have a contract for.
Yeah, I guess Nextel. I was talking to someone about Nextel the other night, and they were chased out by the government. I think the government took that bandwidth, the Nextel bandwidth.
Right. Motorola
that was the best phone.
The Motorola Atrix, Matrix without the M, 4G. LG Chocolate Touch phone. HTC Desire.
All the iPhones are rated at 1.6 watts per kilogram.
Right.
That's pretty much right at, that's 1.4, 0.9 at the head. The head is absorbing a lot with these iPhones. And it only seems like the iPhones are consistently in there, and they're like the highest promoted phone.
Oh, well,
Samsung's real low usually.
Motorola Droid 2 is one of them. The Motorola Droid. The Sanyo Vero. LG Rumor. These are all look like little crappy little phones with slide out keyboards. The ZTE Salute, another really kind of crappy little phone.
Yeah.
The Motorola Grasp. Motorola Defy.
I'll send you that link. Samsung just slaughters iPhone in the radiation battle. 0.3 watts per kilogram versus 1.6.
Really?
I think mine's 0.4.
All right, well, I've got an iPhone 5S, so.
Dude, you look at that Galaxy. It's 0.3 watts per kilogram.
I did. I had a Galaxy for a little while. I was going to go from iPhone to Galaxy, because the Android system is pretty good, other than obviously the obvious spying and all the stuff. But it started melting down on me. In the middle of a call, I knew it was probably just that phone, and I probably could have got another one, but
yeah, I
went back to iPhone.
Yeah, so you're.
Motorola i335 is another one. Kyocera Jax, S is in Sam, 1300. Sony Ericsson Xperia X10 Mini Pro. Sony Ericsson Satio, that's 18 to 20. Motorola Droid 2 Global. And the Motorola Bravo, and that's a 20th out of 20. So that's pretty wild. Now it says 20 cell phones with the highest radiation level. So let's go back to, let me go back to this one. Let's see, we've got a few here. So there's that one. Cell phones with 20 cell phones with the highest levels. All right, there's a few here. And then there's, all right, let's go to the second one here. All right, so yeah, it looks like it's weird. I clicked on a different link, but they all look the same. So yeah, I didn't see the iPhone in there.
I just posted it in the chat there.
Okay.
Yeah, your iPhone is over 5 times the radiation of the Galaxy S4.
Glark. That's not cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's a serious implication for people's health potentially. And people usually know if they're affected by it a lot or not. And even if you probably are being affected by it, if the signals are getting in your body and interacting with any signaling in your body.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got wireless. I mean, people never turn their wireless off in their homes.
Yep.
It's always on. I bought a router that has a button that will turn the wireless on and off if I'm not using it. But people just it's on all the time. I mean,
and then people live in complexes.
Yep. And the thing is that I live in this condo and there's like four units here. So even if I turn mine off, I get the one from underneath me, the one on the other side. So
yeah.
So there really is, unless people are become abundantly aware that this stuff is affecting their sleep, it's affecting them, and time will tell.
You know what we figured out was a conspiracy on this is that they banned lead paint, which would probably block quite a bit of it.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, yeah, I mean, there was a clay supplement that I knew that was pretty good as far as, people taking it and saying that it was, their arthritis was less or whatever, but it had lead and heavy metals in it, but they were bound.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you could measure lead in the air or, lead in someone's body, it's a kind of a give and take. Charcoal does a good job of absorbing on a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
I don't see why some particles, there is radiation paint. I know that for a fact. I've seen shows where in the UK they recognize radiation, or just EMFs as being toxic for some people. And the government would probably pre-EU days, pay for their paint so they would, have a better quality of life.
Right. So
that's
what's your take on these GMO humans?
I think they have a long way to go on that.
Right.
A long way to go. I thought with the DNA splicing, when they got the Flavor Saver tomato, they were loading some DNA that they had cultured in front of a 22 blank and shooting it into the egg of something else.
Right.
I don't think there's tiny little robots with tiny little tweezers that they're grabbing the DNA and shuffling things around, and they're still trying to sequence it fast.
So that could eliminate the weaponized baboons as well?
That could be something different. That could be, I was thinking, with the Weapon X project, it was Wolverine with like a computer on his head. That'd be a lot easier to do than genetically modifying something to...
Right, hooking up some kind of microchip with connection to the brain or something.
Yeah, with neurofeedback responses and everything, and controlling them like a little video game or something. I think we're a lot closer to that than...
Well, I think that's the things that they're doing. I mean, with them talking about chimeras and all this other different stuff. But I just think that they, on some level, with all the money that they just kind of throw stuff together. They throw, shit up on the wall and see what sticks, and then they just go from there.
Yeah.
Like the spider goats. I mean, they say that exists. I mean,
where are they? In Costa Rica?
I'm not sure. But I mean, how?
They were making goat milk that had the tensile strength of a spider web.
Yeah, they were saying something. I think I saw it last night that they were going to take this. I don't think it might have been the spider goat thing, but they were talking about the webbing or something, that they were going to make some kind of bulletproof armor or something out of it.
I'm pretty sure we have bulletproof armor.
I mean, some type of, I guess what it would be something organic or something, rather than just, some kind of, whatever they're making it out of now.
Yeah.
Something, crazy organic.
Kevlar. I was watching boat construction the other day, and everyone's going with carbon fiber, but a guy found out how to add some resins to a good wood, and it was outperforming the carbon boats.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nature has been engineering this stuff for a long time, and a lot longer than us, and some better than us, better than we're capable of.
Yep. All right. So we were talking last week, and there was a few things that you wanted to. Trying to go back and things that you wanted to talk about. You said I want to talk about that, but I didn't talk about it. Something. The 3D printer.
Oh, the 3D printer. Yeah.
You said you finally ordered it. And so what's your report on it?
Yeah, it's from cnc.com, and I watched those things maybe for over a year, definitely, and I like the Delta robot model. It seemed to print on a larger scale, it was faster, and the movement was a lot more fluid.
Yeah.
And I had some correspondence with Delta Maker, and they were a Kickstarter project, and they're like, prepay for your Delta Maker. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean I won't get it? Like, you don't have it built yet, but you want a couple grand from me? That's retarded. Yeah, what are you, the government?
But did they ever come through with it? I guess they did, or?
No, well, they didn't, which led me to find another company, which is in Indiana, that builds, for the cheapest printers for that size. Definitely. It's $1,400.
Mm-hmm.
Something. Yeah, it's the Delta Orion. It's pretty much assembled. It runs off of Arduino control board, and so you don't have to have your computer hooked up to this.
Mm-hmm.
While it's printing, you could go in the other room or whatever. Well, the other thing is there's problems with Windows drivers too. Like, if it was connected to your Windows 8 computer and you just got it set up and you haven't messed with the FTDI protocol and set your power options to never shutting the USB off, the USB shuts off and ruins your project.
Oh, right.
So, like, Windows can't be trusted for operating devices pretty much anymore.
How about Linux? Maybe Linux?
Linux, but it's even these simpler systems that they're going to, I think.
Right.
But yeah, Linux is a great platform. So
I'm still having a hard time, like, mentally grasping this whole 3D printing thing.
Yeah, well, it's got a container of ABS material, which looks like Weed Whacker line, and that's spooled off into a little feeder connected to the computer that feeds the printer head. Mm-hmm. And it melts this plastic from 1.75 millimeters to 0.5 millimeters, and as it's, writing shapes slowly over top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of that layering you can get the 3D effects.
Okay.
So
I've seen some of these 3D firearms, and it's pretty wild looking. I mean, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, you can't get a MakerBot and do any of those because a lot of the lowers are, right around, 8, 9 inch mark, somewhere around there, pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to look at a lot of stuff like that. I've made files for them that I was working with Cura, C-U-R-A, and you can get your STL files and drag them into there and write G code with it. So that's the thing, is that you're taking a lot of times CNC files,
Mm-hmm.
I think, that are meant to cut out of a brick of steel,
mm-hmm.
and then you need to do the opposite. You need to build it. So it's I don't know. That might be the G code thing. I might be far off, but yeah, things seem to be working. My printer head's jammed right now,
right.
So I gotta go clean that out.
I was thinking just the other day, man. I'm reading some of this stuff, and then I was watching some of your YouTube videos over on YouTube. On Demand Jedi is your name over there on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, you're like a modern day Peter Parker but without the spider bite. You just got to get bit by a spider, dude. You're like, you'd be totally Spidey with all your.
I can get bit by a spider.
Stuff. What's that?
I could get bit by a spider.
All right, man, let's do it, dude.
Maybe they'd be radioactive because of plasmas and
just
stuff.
dip them in the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
Let them feed on some of the dead algae and stuff like that. Then just take a massive bite, and then you'll totally be like a superhero and shit.
Yeah, I'll eat the spider that bit me, and then I'll seal the deal.
There you go, man. You're like a modern day Peter Parker. That's awesome. What do you know about suspended animation, man? Joel's posted something.
I'm trying to put my whole system out here. I pretty much have done that. If you look at the videos, if it's a training that I've done for somebody, it's on there. It's on there for their sake, so they don't have to ask me questions which are redundant. And it's also for everyone else who can figure it out on their own.
Right.
And they don't need the hands-on. I was listening to this long G8 summon on our special relationship with our best friends in the Middle East. And a guy says, we're living in a different world because there's people on YouTube and on the internet that are putting out information for free to make a better world and not expecting anything from it monetarily.
Mm-hmm. That's what we should do as human beings.
Yeah, that's the way forward. I mean, that whole open system and self-determination and all that. And that
what they've done with the suppression of nutrition information, with disease information, which results, as I said in the beginning of the show, in the death of very, very good people. I mean, and then just the sudden death of Dan, and it's just it's incredibly awful that people honestly, asthma, should that not have been kicked in the ass years ago? Just another example.
Yeah, it has largely to do with diets and environment too. And we're all living in a toxic environment. I think I sent you that link where BP spilled in Lake Michigan.
Right.
And people, these people still go to BP.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it might, this toxic environment is probably going to kill them, and they don't care. They're just.
Yeah. So,
those things, they shouldn't exist. I think in Japan and like the old Eastern styles of medicine, the doctor didn't get paid until the patient was cured.
Right.
And I think you used to have to, I think it was in maybe Hong Kong, that you had to see your acupuncturist once a month, just to stay ahead of whatever is coming down the road. And that was the health plan.
Right.
Is to stay, relatively balanced.
Right. So what do you know about suspended animation? Joel's posted something up here about humans will be kept between life and death in the first suspended animation trials. Doctors at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center.
Freezing?
It doesn't say anything about cryogenics here, but...
Is this the Human Hibernation Project?
Something like that. It looks like these pods, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Alien, like from the Alien movies.
There's Jules. Do they have someone from the private sector? And
well, it's Pittsburgh Medical Center. Doctors at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center are trying a new procedure where patients with life-threatening injuries will be kept in a state of suspended animation. Patients' bodies will be cooled using saline so that the body's functions will be slowed. Damage that occurs when there is not enough oxygen flow will occur less rapidly as a result. Similar to inducing a coma in the brain, the new procedure will be used for victims that have suffered a large loss of blood or loss of oxygen delivery. And then it says RT's Lindsay Frank speaks with Dr.
Lindsay Frank.
Yeah. RT is Lindsay. FR, it looks like France, but
Yeah.
it could be how you pronounce it. This groundbreaking procedure. So
Yeah, I bet that it's going to be 3 days. They suspend them for 3 days and they bring them back.
Well, the earlier forms of suspended animation are just what people get like really stoned, just sitting there.
Yeah, the guy that they pay to take acid and study dolphins in Florida in that mansion.
Right.
That type of I'm sure there's suspended animation going on there.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what I was doing, and I was riding a dolphin 30 miles away from my house in the ocean.
I woke up and I was on a dolphin.
Yeah.
and the Coast Guard was coming for me, and I was like, "Fuck you, sea pig!"
Yeah.
On a dolphin.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got here? Obama talks to Putin, urges him to stand down. Putin's answer: grow a dick, he said.
I was thinking about Putin with this winter. This winter could have been Putin's war on us. We didn't even know. Our economy did take a hit, and the way I've read about that stuff, that it'll be done under warlike economic purposes.
So, explain a little bit in detail what you mean by this winter was Putin's war.
Well, you got to go back to, I think it was the 70s when the woodpecker signal was discovered by ham radio operators, and their radios were all along the same band, getting this clicking sound.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all across the country, and they figured out the source of it, which was Russia. So Russia had, these attempts to modify weather with the HARP-like technology long before us.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming that they kept on that line, which seems to be cheaper than buying like a new set of 30 jets every year that costs like $200 billion each, or 200 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was that like the Harrier or something like that?
Right. That's the one that just kind of hovers.
Yeah.
The Harrier, the one that just kind of like lifts off the ground and then and can just like take off on it.
Yeah, so a poorer country, if they were smart, they could look into Tesla's type of stuff. And the thing with paperclip, if you believe in paperclip, is that we got the rocket guys from Germany, and the radar guys, the radar experts, went to the Soviets.
Okay.
That's how they were supposed to get over there and start to introduce that technology. Because, they were looking into, like, the Vril energy, or, seems like Aether, and maybe trapping neutrinos. Who knows? I heard Russia has rented their stuff out many times as well.
Did you hear that we just, Russia was just paid like $70 million and an American went on one of their space missions? That just happened, that was reported on Fox News, on Mox News. Let me see if I can find it here. But they went Russian space 71 million or something.
Well, have you ever looked up books in regards to those who go against Israel get all kinds of, bizarre weather and tragedies and hurricanes and all this stuff? There's about 1,000 books. Because someone recommended that I read one, and it's like, anytime someone goes against Israel, there's a catastrophe. I was like, okay, I'll just find that book on Amazon, and I go on Amazon and type in, bizarre weather, tragedy, like horror related to going against the people of God. And there's like 1,000 books, and they all have legitimate claims and dates to go along with this. So they have to be in control of it.
Oh, what aren't they in control of? I mean, or, like Henry Makow says, that they're being used by the satanic global elite, to, distract and do certain things. But I mean, anytime you create a group of people are told that they're better than everyone else, that in God's eyes, or that they are chosen by God. I mean, how is that not going to create a rift in society over the years that's going to result in right where we are now?
Yeah, and that summit, they weren't anti-Semitic whatsoever. It was just about this relationship with Israel, and they were drawing a line between different factions of the Jewish faith or race, or I guess race. And there's some eruptions where it got too close to call. Like a guy just says, look, AIPAC has been the biggest lobby in Washington, biggest influencing lobby in Washington for a long time. We didn't call them a criminal cabal, It's like, we didn't say that they had their hand in whatever. But there was a guy that detailed a whole story about the attack on the USS Liberty.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
I think it was 2 hours and 37 minutes in.
Yep.
It was an 8-hour long video though.
Here's that clip. America now hitching rides to space because of our own space program being neglected.
And we have a liftoff of Steve Swanson, Oleg Artemayev, and Alexander Skvortsov on a 6-hour journey.
It was about hitching a ride, but it sure hit a chord. My lamenting this latest Soyuz space mission with an American astronaut on board and are paying the Russian Space Agency $70.6 million for a seat on the plane, as it were. That is how we get into space these days. We pay others to get us up there. Most notably, to the country not too long ago, we beat up there. $71 million each way, each trip, every trip. No discounts for round trips. Man, that's a trip. And for me, what a fall from grace. The country that conquered space relegated to hitching rides into space. The very same week I learned that the very same country that all but invented the internet is now letting go of control of the internet. Sad, and a lot of you mad. Keith in New Orleans. You're right, Neil. This is a travesty. Good thing JFK isn't alive to see it. Helen in Pittsburgh. I understand we're no longer in a space race, but did that mean we just had to stop space? Helen, well put. TL via Yahoo. Cavuto, you forget we still do remarkable things with unmanned vehicles. Look at Mars. Well, look at the capsules that have run circles around anything the Russians are doing. Well, true enough, TL. But as the last man to walk on the moon, Gene Cernan told me, humans might make machines, but nothing beats a human in the machine. I just wish we went full throttle on both. And Sean in Dublin, Ireland. Neil, I know you're half Irish, so take pride in knowing Ireland is setting its sights on the stars. We might even give you a lift for a 6-pack of Guinness. What do you...
So anyway, there you go. 70 something million to hitch a ride with the Ruskies into to the unknown. Pretty wild. We still got you?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
That just seemed like total bullshit to me. They said the guy was an oligarch, and then for a ride on his plane. Well, is it a plane or is it a space shuttle?
No, it was it seemed to be a total, lift off, missile, the whole deal.
Yeah. How does that what does that missile push off of once it's in space?
I don't know. Let me, I'll put it in the chat room.
I never got around how they could steer once they get into space. They say they're looping around moon's gravity, and there's so many things that stink about the whole moon landing.
Oh yeah, the whole moon landing, and yeah. And I mean, did anybody see that Gravity? Have you seen that? It was pretty wild. It was pretty freaking wild, man. just the special effects and everything. And, you know, space is not a friendly place.
Did you ever listen to, like, the Lonely Truckers? I think
No.
them. There was a good song that they had about, they send people into space every year, and more people that I know are getting cancer every day, you know? So.
Right.
They keep on lifting these rockets off and, you know, spending $70 million on this and.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, it's evidently what that Van Allen belt with all the radiation, right? I mean,
yeah, how do they get through that? Why were they trying to, like, they've released high altitude nukes up there?
Yeah, exactly. That's what they were saying, that they disrupted that to be able to go through it or something.
Yeah, and Tessarian said they made it stronger and created I think Alan Watts said they made a third belt too.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, the opposite of what they say it's going to do is usually, or what they say they're going to do is the case.
Has Israel ever tested their nuclear weapons? That's something I've never heard about, you know? And it's like any other weapon they have, they definitely use it.
Well, hopefully Netanyahu will be in that room when they test it. Yeah. Thank my Yahoo, Benjamin. Anyway, it's not so much. Well, the leadership of these countries is the problem, not the people. Yeah. You know, it's all about controlling the people. It's all about making them subservient and make them feel like they've got some freedom when they actually.
You know what I'd wonder too, if they go on a space mission, are they going to be tracked the whole time? Can we watch? Why can't we watch the whole flight? Put a GoPro on that thing, you know. Let's watch a live feed.
Well, some people think that they've already done there is already some kind of space station on the moon. So, if you go to livingearth.com, I think it's John Lear Jr. says that there's, let me see, Living Moon.
They use reaction control thrusters. Okay, so they're using a thruster. How do you thrust against something that isn't there because you're in space, the void?
Did they move that? That's weird. I don't even see what I used to see on here. Let me John Lear. Living Moon. That's weird. Unless it's something else. Maybe it's org. The Living Moon. Okay, there it is. If you go to the Living Moon, there are high definition pictures.
Oh, the colored ones?
If you go to The Living Moon and scroll down a little bit, you'll see The Living Moon, and then it'll say uncovering a well-kept secret. Then it says Pegasus Research Consortium featuring John Lear, and then they show you an up-close picture of some sort of blue. It looks like some kind of reactor or some kind of energy source or something. And then if you click further in there, you'll see there's a picture of the moon with its true color, which is green. And whenever they show you, it's like gray, desolate. But there is, from what they're showing, if this is legitimate, you see what the moon really looks like, and.
So you're saying it's like that spaceship from the last Matt Damon movie?
Possibly, yep.
Yeah. So that's where you got to go for your chemo now. We're going to shoot you into space.
I mean, actually, I have the picture somewhere. It's just a question of finding it. It's on this site. The picture of the moon, the way it truly looks.
I mean, the thing that would kind of stink, that if they said that the cancer cure is in space, is all these astronauts come back supposedly and they're 60%, 40% lighter because they've lost mass in almost every tissue.
Really?
Yeah.
And losing mass as far as just because of gravity.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's the Earth's field at least.
Right.
But yeah, they all come back depleted, and I think they need months of physical therapy to get back to shape. Even though they're supposedly working on treadmills and everything up there in their space ice cream.
Right. Yeah, the gravity has the detrimental effects on the body. I'm trying to find that, but it's not here. I know the picture's up there somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. But so yeah, if you listen to some of this Project M a lot, I don't know, every now and then I've listened to a little bit of it. But Lear does an interview with the woman. There's that guy and that woman who interview everybody in alternative, this, that, people that talk about extraterrestrial, shit like that. And he pretty much kind of threw a number of different things out there. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's up to you. It's you decide, fair and balanced. But yeah, it's pretty interesting when he talks about a lot. So his father was I don't know if it was John Lear Sr., but he designed the Lear jet and all that other stuff. So he's kind of an insider, and he lives out there by Area 51 or
something. Yeah, he's the UFO guy.
Yeah.
I was talking to some people from Europe. One guy's in the UK. They were saying the real Area 51 is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio.
The real 51?
Yeah.
So distraction.
Why would Hollywood tell everyone where it is?
Right, I guess. Makes sense.
And once, yeah. You're pretty much going to Vegas and then maybe checking that out a day.
Mm-hmm. John Lear, captain for major U.S. airline, has flown over 160 different types of aircraft in over 50 different countries. He holds 17 world speed record in Learjet and is the only pilot ever to hold every airline certificate issued by the Federal Aviation Administration. Lear has flown missions worldwide for the CIA and other government agencies. A former Nevada state senator candidate, he is the son of William P. Lear, designer of the Learjet executive airplane, the 8-track stereo, and founder of the Lear-Sigler Corporation. Lear became interested in the subject of UFOs 13 months ago after talking with United States Air Force personnel who had witnessed a UFO landing at Ben Waters Air Force Base near London, England, and 3 small aliens walking up to the wing commander. So,
what did the wing commander look like? You see like the tallest little alien, or
I don't know. That was just his bio type thing. But 13 months ago, I don't know where this was. But I think it's he goes on to Beyond Top Secret a lot. It's a website called Beyond Top Secret.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
So they've been having some issues over there, from what he was saying. But
those UFO guys are interesting because they're all usually pretty smart if they're into UFOs.
Yeah.
For some reason, a lot of engineers get into that, and some of the MUFONs can be fairly interesting. There are a lot of computer programmers too, of course.
Right. Let's see what else is here. I know that I'm on his page.
His dad invented all this stuff, but then what did his kid invent? Like nothing.
I don't know. He's involved in a number of different things. I mean, I read it in that one thing. I can't remember whether he invented it or his dad did.
Yeah.
Let me see. Is this it? No. Trying to find
are there people in the chat that believe that our government's in control by aliens?
I don't know.
From outer space?
I don't know that he believes that, but I mean, considering what they're doing, you would think that it's some kind of, some.
The UFO thing that I liked was the Mount Hood in Oregon.
What was that again?
The Mount Hood in Oregon and the East Seti Ranch. That That's where the UFOs are supposed to fly right into the mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, when you look at, when you just think about the absolute amazing reality of life on this planet, all the life on this planet, you have to say there's got to be life out there somewhere else. And if it is life, whether it looks like us or whether it doesn't, it's extraterrestrial life. So, I mean, anybody who doesn't think that that's going on out there, I guess people just limit themselves. You know, they're just limiting themselves to a certain extent. But I mean,
the coolest thing I saw maybe recently on UFO type stuff. It's a UFO as far as it's supposed to be a 13,000-year-old satellite. And it's called the Black Knight satellite.
Never, I haven't heard of it.
Yeah. It looks like something straight out of Chronicles of Riddick.
Right.
I mean, same shape. I mean, same lines and everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's your space station. If you're looking for your space station.
That's what? The
Black Knight satellite.
The Black Knight satellite?
Yeah, I posted it in the chat there.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Looks like the monolith.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that was transported here from another dimension.
I don't know. Anything's possible, man. When you look at, again, when you look at the whole, the picture, the whole encompassing picture and what's being done to our environment, what's being done with, to the people, all this, top secret stuff, you think that, that this was like some kind of alien race that was trying to wipe us out. I mean,
like the Hyksos or something?
Something like that. Like, look at,
yeah, because 2255 in the chat said, he believes it's aliens that are running the government, but he didn't say what aliens. It's reptiles. There's geckos. Gecko's the insurance company, so you never know.
There you go.
They're telling you through Gordon Gecko.
Dan B. Cooper says, who is this person on with Shally? Well, it's Jordan DeYoung. Dan? It's Jordan DeYoung. Wow. So, yeah, we're running out of time here on this Sunday broadcast, this worldwide broadcast. Out to planet Earth on UCY here. Stay tuned for Dinah Everett Snyder, the Canary Chronicles, and as I said, from 3 to 5, Hal Anthony behind the woodshed. Very powerful show today, I thought. Just thinking about this guy, Dan, who just, within a week, my brother was practicing with him to do this gig, and then he says, hey, man, I said, what time's that gig? And I was getting ready to, get a couple people to come out and hang out. And he said, I haven't heard from Dan. I haven't heard from him. And then turns out the dude had an asthma attack and then went into the hospital and never came out.
Wow. Yeah, I'm reading a book about Candida that's written in the third person, just like Fight Club. It's like, I am Jane's Candida. I live in her lungs.
Right.
I suffocate Jan.
The Mucinex. Keep on thinking about, every time I see that commercial, the Mucinex commercial with the little like mucus dude who like lives inside the lung cavity and he's got like a chair and a TV.
Dude, you ever plug your Twitter on here? You should.
Yeah, every now and then I do. Add Cold Reality News.
Yeah, I'm at Rife for Lime.
Spell that for people.
RIFE 4, the number 4, LYME.
That's right. Jordan does a lot of work with Lime, and
you have to these days. I mean,
nobody's curing anything. Nobody's addressing the.
No one's looking at the problem.
No one's looking at the problem. No, they're just because if they did, then they'd have to do more research and they would find out that it's all been perpetrated on us, and it's not like a naturally occurring thing. You know, it may have something to do with to a large extent with the overuse of antibiotics, but that's pretty much.
Red Ice did a great article on Candida, redicecreations.com, and it was. It's a disease of the body of it's bred, you know, and wherever that's been introduced, and then what do we have? You know, our arthritis and all our diseases that started after our paleo days.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're running out of time here. Payday should kick in a second. Thanks to Jordan. Thanks to everybody in the chat room, and thanks to new listeners if you're in there. If you stumbled upon UCY.tv, give a listen. There's a lot of great programming on here. A lot of good people doing good things for people. That's what we're all about here. So, Jordan, I'll hold you on the line. We'll talk after.
Okay.
So it's almost, I can hear it. Got to get Payday on soon. He's been posting a lot of stuff on Facebook. He's kind of doing his thing. But UCY.tv, Cold Reality Radio for this Sunday, March 30th. It didn't come in.
Oh, yeah. I did my Jedi on YouTube.
There.
Try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list. That's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They're nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform Shakanar on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary for the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to